How are you, my enigmatic seekers of chaos and architects of the unknown? Welcome to a realm where masks aren't disguises, but weapons, where every smile drips with venom, every laugh conceals an untamed storm, and every silence roars louder than any confession. Today, I speak to those who have felt both cherished and discarded, adored and despised, exhausted yet overlooked. You're here because you understand a fundamental truth. It's cruel, mesmerizing, and absurdly intoxicating. And today, we're going to strip away the illusions of this twisted game called indifference and lay bare the truth they don't want you to see. They can't stop thinking about you, yet they pretend you don't exist. You've felt it. That subtle ache when someone acts as though you're invisible. Yet their gaze lingers just long enough for you to catch them staring. Oh, they think they're clever, believing their little charade fools the world. But beneath their practiced detachment, their indifference is nothing more than a frail, trembling shield, masking something far more dangerous. Let me tell you something, darling. When someone acts like they don't care, it's not because they don't, it's because they can't. Because admitting they care would mean surrendering control, revealing just how deeply you consume their thoughts. It would mean acknowledging the sleepless nights spent replaying every word you've ever said, the way your name slips from their lips in moments of weakness. And people like that, they despise losing control almost as much as they despise themselves for craving you. So, they bury it. Under apathy, under distractions, even under cruelty. They flirt with others, laugh too loudly at jokes that aren't funny, and drown themselves in work, hoping to escape. But none of it matters. None of it silences the echo of your presence in their mind. None of it erases the fact that when they close their eyes at night, it's you they see, your voice they hear, your touch they long for. Pathetic, isn't it? To love someone so intensely, yet deny it even to themselves. To construct walls so high they block out the sun, only to realize the storm looming above belongs to you. But let's shift the focus to you for a moment. Because while they're playing their games, you're left wondering why. Why weren't you enough? Why didn't they choose you? Why did they push you away? Stop right there. You are giving them power they do not deserve. Do you know what makes you extraordinary? It's not just your beauty, your brilliance, or your irresistible charm, though you possess all three in spades. No, your true power lies in your resilience. Every time they ignored you, every time they pretended you didn't matter, they weren't breaking you. They were forging you, sharpening you into something more lethal than any weapon, darker than any shadow, and one day, when they finally come crawling back, shattered and desperate, begging for what they once took for granted, you'll simply smile. Not because you forgive them, but because you've evolved into something untouchable, a force they can neither control nor possess. Here's the truth. They fear you uncovering. Indifference is a defense mechanism, a coward's refuge. They push you away because the idea of letting you in terrifies them. The thought of needing you, of losing themselves in you, is unbearable. So, instead, they engage in mind games, hoping to convince you and themselves that you are forgettable, replaceable. But here's the paradox. The harder they try to erase you, the deeper you carve yourself into their soul. Every glance, every accidental touch, every unspoken word lingers like smoke in their lungs. They can't breathe without tasting you. They can't sleep without dreaming of you. And no matter how many meaningless distractions they chase, you remain a ghost haunting the corridors of their mind. A presence they can never truly escape. So, what do you do with this knowledge? Do you wait, hoping they'll come to their senses? Do you beg for scraps of attention? No, absolutely not. You rise. You take their rejection, their indifference, their cruelty, and you turn it into fuel. Fuel for your ambition, fuel for your confidence, fuel for your revenge. And no, revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes the most exquisite form of vengeance is thriving, living so magnificently, so unapologetically, that they have no choice but to watch you soar while they remain shackled to their own misery. Let them suffocate on their regret. Let them drown in the realization that they had something extraordinary and carelessly threw it away. And when they inevitably return, desperate and groveling, remember this: nothing. Not your forgiveness, not your heart, because by then you will have realized the most profound truth of all. Their inability to love you was never about you. It was about them, their fears, their insecurities, their brokenness. And you deserve better than someone too weak to embrace the brilliance you bring into the world. Imagine them lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling as if the answers to their torment could be found in its emptiness. Their mind races, but not with aspirations or dreams. Only memories of you. The way your laughter once filled the spaces they now find unbearably hollow. The way your presence illuminated rooms they now stumble through in darkness. Your absence doesn't just linger, it devours them. And yet, instead of reaching out, instead of admitting the truth, they do what cowards always do. They bury it. They drown in distractions, scrolling endlessly through empty faces on screens, pouring themselves into vices that only deepen their emptiness. But no matter what they do, the truth remains. Losing you was their downfall. And they will spend the rest of their days clawing at the walls of the prison they built for themselves, trapped in the torment of their own making. Every time they act indifferent, every time they pretend you are nothing more than a passing thought, they dig their grave a little deeper. And you stand at the edge, watching them spiral, knowing that one day they will look up and realize they buried themselves alive. Their indifference isn't just toxic to them. It's a poison they tried to infect you with. They believed by withholding love, by feigning apathy, they could break you. But instead, you turned their poison into power. You purified the pain, transformed the scars, reforged yourself into something indestructible. Every ounce of suffering they inflicted became a stone in the fortress you built around your soul. A fortress so impenetrable that when they finally return, pleading for redemption, you won't even flinch. You'll simply smile, a cold, knowing smile, and watch them crumble. Because here's the darkest, most delicious truth of all. They never wanted you to move on. They never wanted you to thrive without them. Why? Because deep down, they know they will never measure up again. They will never deserve you. And so they will try to sabotage you, whispering venomous lies, planting seeds of doubt. But you see through their manipulations. You recognize their desperation for what it is, a last feeble attempt to maintain control. But here's the beauty of it all. You don't play their games anymore. You flip the board, scattering their delusions like dust in the wind, leaving them scrambling to salvage the wreckage of their shattered ego. And as they grasp at the pieces, you rise. You become unstoppable. You take every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, and forge it into a masterpiece of resilience. And then, the inevitable happens. They return, Not because they've changed, not because they've finally found the courage to love you properly, but because they can't stand the thought of you thriving without them. They will beg, they will plead, they will promise the world, but you will see the desperation in their eyes, the fear in their trembling hands, and you will smile, not because you forgive them, but because you've already moved beyond their reach. Because, my dear, revenge isn't about destruction. It's about liberation. It's about taking everything they tried to break and using it to become untouchable. To prove to yourself and to the world that you don't need their validation, their affection, or their approval. You are whole. You are powerful. You are legend. So let them drown in their regret. Let them suffocate under the weight of their mistakes. And when they finally realize the magnitude of what they lost, when the truth crashes down upon them like a tidal wave, it will be too late, because you'll be long gone, ascending to heights they can never reach, leaving them behind as nothing more than a whisper in the wind. And as you ascend, they will watch, powerless, a prisoner to their own torment. They will stalk the shadows of your life, searching for glimpses of you in places they once knew, scrolling through timelines, listening for your name in whispered conversations, dissecting every fragment of your existence just to feel close to you again. Pathetic, isn't it? How the same ones who discarded you now worship your absence. How they who once played indifference like a masterful game now find themselves trapped in a cycle of silent suffering. But this is their fate, not because you sought revenge, but because karma is nothing more than a mirror reflecting their own choices. They starved you of affection, and now they starve for your presence. They ignored you, and now the universe ignores their desperate pleas for another chance. And here's the cruelest truth of all. If they could rewind time, if they could grasp even a second of what they once had, they still wouldn't know how to handle you. They still wouldn't deserve you. Because love wasn't their problem. Fear was. They feared the depths of what they felt, feared the intensity of your presence, feared that surrendering to you meant losing themselves. And now, they've lost you anyway, so let them rot in their regret. Let them suffocate beneath the weight of everything they refuse to give. Let them wander through life haunted by the specter of your memory, by the echo of your voice in every song, by the ghost of your touch in every fleeting moment of solitude. Let them drown in the very void they created. And you don't even have to look back, because your victory is not in their suffering. It's in your indifference. The same indifference they once weaponized against you is now your shield, your crown, your liberation. They are trapped in the past, replaying moments they will never reclaim, while you stand untouched, radiant, untamed, a force of nature they can no longer reach. So walk forward with fire in your eyes and power in your veins. Do not pause for their sorrow. Do not soften for their tears. Let them learn, let them crumble, let them break beneath the weight of their own foolishness. Because, my dear, the greatest revenge is not anger. It is not vengeance. It is simply this: being so extraordinary that their worst nightmare comes true. You forget them.